Warumi, welcome. Thanks for joining me in the first of a series of Animal in Our Houses talks. I'm Anna Kosu, curator of the How to Move a Zoo exhibition now showing at the Museum of Sydney, and A Tale of Two Zoos photographic exhibition on at New South Wales Parliament House. I'm speaking to you today from Gadigal country, and in the spirit of reconciliation, Sydney Living Museums acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in today. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat and I'll hopefully answer them at the end. I'll just share my screen now. Sorry about that. So the How to Move a Zoo exhibition was inspired by a collection of digitised glass plate negatives from the Government Printing Office held in the New South Wales State Archives. These photographs give us rare glimpses of Sydney's first public zoological gardens at Moore Park in Sydney's eastern suburbs. It's now the site of Sydney Boys and Sydney Girls High Schools. The photographs in the collection also capture the early years of Taronga Zoo, which opened in 1916 on the northern side of Sydney Harbour. The How to Move a Zoo exhibition reimagines the long forgotten story of the move of hundreds of Sydney's favourite animals through the city streets from Moore Park, across the harbour to the new purpose-built Taronga Zoological Park. The move culminated with the journey made by the 4-ton elephant named Jessie, and we can just see her in this photograph here. Too big to fit in a cage or transport on the back of a lorry, Jessie walked from Moore Park Zoo through the city down to Bennelong Point, which is where the Opera House now stands, where she boarded a vehicle ferry which carried her across the harbour. The sight of Jessie in the city and the sounds of all those animals being shepherded through the city must have been such an amazing spectacle. During my research for How to Move a Zoo, I came across a fascinating story connected to one of Sydney Living Museum's properties. And as members, you may be surprised to learn that the Vaucluse House estate was briefly considered as a potential site for the new zoo. In 1909, the search for the new location to replace Moore Park Zoo began in earnest. Officials examined numerous locations from Harris Park, Tempe to Bondi and the Vaucluse House estate. Papers held in the New South Wales State Archive show that residents and investors in the recently sold off Wentworth landholding strongly objected to the idea of a zoo in their neighbourhood, submitting letters and formal deputations to the Premier. The debate over Vaucluse House also played out in the newspapers of the day, as we can see here. However, fortunately for the Vaucluse landowners, and probably for the zoo animals too, it was soon recognised that Bradley's Head, which is where Taronga Zoo is situated today, was by far the better option, offering over 30 acres, which was later increased to 60 acres, compared with the tiny 4 acres proposed at Vaucluse. However, this didn't stop me imagining what a zoo in the grounds of Vaucluse House would have been like. Would the house have been Jessie the elephant's new home, the stables home to camels and lions, the fountain swimming with a crocodile or two, and the beach frontage recast as a natural aquarium? And then, as what happens when you're immersed in a particular subject or topic, I kept noticing animals everywhere in our museums and collections. There is a bronze sandstone line hidden under the stairs at Elizabeth Bay House. You can just see it there, but you need to go and visit to get a better look. a pull-along toy spotted deer in the children's bedroom of Elizabeth Farm. Our photographic collections feature many family pets, and this furnishing textile that you can see here, held in the Caroline Simpson Library and Resource Centre collection, features donkeys. I can't spot them now. Hopefully you can. There it is. Donkey, what looks like sheep, and once again, a few spotted deers. And a kangaroo sits at the centre of this copper button, part of the Hyde Park Barracks Underground Archaeology Collection. And to the left, these are one of around 50 ornaments that have come into the Susannah Place collection, and might echo similar things that you have on your mantelpieces or in your china cabinets and shelves today. So the list of what's in our collection is endless. And so today I wanted to introduce you to just a few of my favourite animal stories in Sydney Living Museum's collections and museums. And with pet ownership at an all-time high during COVID, the RSPCA estimates there are 29 million pets in Australia. And myself, as a part of that statistics with 2 cats at home, I thought we'd start with some of the pets of SLM. This photo shows just a few of the 140,000 artefacts excavated from the site of First Government House, where the Museum of Sydney now stands. So these are handmade clay roof tiles used in the construction of Government House and its outbuildings. The tiles were manufactured from local clay and left out to dry. And if you look closely, you can see a paw print of a cat or a small dog that walked across the soft clay. And if you haven't spotted it, just look just about there. We know cats came early to the colony. The list of livestock carried on the first fleet includes kittens and puppies, although there is no mention of the number of each animal. The colony's first chaplain, Reverend Richard Johnson, and his wife Mary were accompanied by 2 of their cats, Miss Puss and Mr. Tom Puss, on the Golden Grove store ship. And so here we have members of the Anderson family who lived in one of the 4 houses of Susannah Place located in Gloucester Street, The Rocks. They're posing for a photo with the family cat. On the left, we can see what looks to be the same cat sunning itself on a timber bench in the backyard of number 58 where they lived. Both photos were snapped by one of the Anderson brothers who were keen amateur photographers. They used their Kodak box Brownie camera to take snapshots of their family, local neighbourhood, and in this case, their family pets. The Anderson family had a few different pets during their long tenancy at Susannah Place. In this photo of Girlie Anderson, again taken by one of her sons, we have a wonderful rare glimpse into the kitchen, which was located in the basement of the house. Hanging above the kitchen sink is a small wire bird cage, and you must be able to make it out just here. It was home to a budgerigar named Cheeky. I should also point out the poster of a girl and horse behind Mrs. Anderson. And long have we debated if this poster was from a famous movie of the time or just something cut out of a magazine to decorate the kitchen, or perhaps hide a broken glass of pane in the kitchen dresser. If you had stepped outside the Anderson kitchen, hanging under the veranda was another larger bird cage that was home to their pet sulphur-crested cockatoo. Here is Girlie Anderson again, sitting in the backyard of number 58, alongside her husband Martin, and alongside him, we can see the top of a small, small in today's standard, domed cockatoo cage. So you can just see that there. These wire bird cages were, for me, a feature in many suburban backyards, including my own childhood home. I'm hoping that as well as Martin and Girly sunning themselves in the backyard, that their pet cockatoo was let out for a bit of a stroll as well. This page from an 1884 instruction manual held in the Cowland Simpson Library and Research Collection with an exhaustingly long title, The Young Lady's Treasure Book, a complete encyclopedia of practical instruction and direction for all indoor and outdoor occupations and amusements suitable to young ladies. Shows a diverse selection of cages suitable for the keeping of different types of pet birds. And we can see just along the front, there's 3 different types of parrot cages available, as well as different cages for canaries. In this 1900 photograph taken by the Department of Public Works during the outbreak of bubonic plague in Sydney, and now held in the New South Wales State Archive collection, we can see even the most modest homes with tiny backyards kept a bird or 2. To the right, just up here, we can see a parrot cage, so it looks like it's empty, and behind the young girl is a larger, possibly homemade timber and wire bird cage. Returning to Susanna Place Museum again, this photograph taken in 1900 has caught what appears to be a goat exiting the back gate. Just here, and I've blown that goat up for you over here. At the time this photograph was taken, the house had a small grocery shop that traded from the front room out to Gloucester Street. Was this goat owned by the grocer, Peter Stewart? Or was it taking advantage of the open back gate to forage for food in the small garden that's just behind the wall, or perhaps to forage amongst the shop products that were likely stored in the basement of the house, where products were stored to keep them nice and cool? Goats were a common sight in colonial Sydney, and their antics are described in Godfrey Mundy's memoir titled Our Antipodes, which was published in 1852. And I quote, "That picturesque animal, the goat, forms a conspicuous item of the Sydney street menagerie, amounting to a pest little less dire than a plague of dogs. Nearly every cottage has its goat or family of goats. They ramble about the highways and byways, picking up a haphazard livelihood during the day and going home willingly or compulsorily in the evening to be milked." So perhaps this is a family goat of Peter Stewart. We can spot goats in colonial paintings, early 20th century photographs like these, and goats also left their mark once again in the first Government House archaeology collection, along with the assortment of other domestic animals, including cats, dogs and sheep, and an occasional cow who wandered across the drying tiles and bricks. And we've got quite a few of these sort of tiles and bricks in the collection with these where animals have signed their paw print to the labours of the convicts of the day. I should point out that when you next visit Hyde Park Barracks Museum, see if you can spot any animal paw prints in the bricks on the external facade of the building. These straying goats and other animals were a constant nuisance in the town, and their owners appeared regularly at Sydney's Water Police Court, now part of the Justice and Police Museum. As well as handing out fines to the owners of these roaming animals, the Water Police Court had its own immediate goat problem that needed addressing. In 1865, these iron fences, and you should be able to just see them in here, in between the arches of the veranda of the Water Police Court. Iron fences were erected between the court's sandstone arches to keep out the wandering goats. And in 1879 article on the left again refers to fences needing to be erected to combat the goats and other animals who use the yard at the rear of the court as their trysting place. In 1936, another unexpected animal made its way into the Phillip Street Police Station, also part of the Justice and Police Museum today. You can just see that here. And it was an echidna. Written up in the Sydney Morning Herald with the title, A Police Romance, is a humorous tale of an echidna that cooled its heels overnight in a police cell. According to the report, an echidna, or porcupine as it was called, barely 12 inches long, but equipped with strong and wicked-looking spines, with a strong will of its own, and full knowledge of the powers of passive resistance, had to be put in a cell. The tale began with the echidna being found in the street in Bondi. The discoverer, fearing it might be injured, took it to the Bondi police, who duly contacted Taronga Zoo, who were more than happy to take the echidna, but couldn't until the following morning. The article is at a loss to explain why the echidna, now housed in a sack, ended up the responsibility of the Phillip Street Police Station, but somehow it did. The sergeant on duty at the Phillip Street Police Station found a new home for the echidna in a box with wire netting used at the police station to house lost dogs. However, the wily echidna escaped and was found wandering around the police station. To keep both animal and human safe, it was decided to put it in a cell. However, this proved difficult, and to quote from the article, the porcupine apparently did not relish the prospect, for it promptly made for the jamb of the half-open cell door and tried to force its way through a crack a fraction of an inch wide. In this position, it was almost impregnable. Nothing could be seen of it but the bristling spines, and it held to the concrete floor of the cell as though clamped there. The police could not shut the door, the porcupine could not or would not move, and this stalemate continued for some minutes, but in the end, the porcupine weakened. It relaxed a little. There was a tactical stamping of feet. The porcupine lost its grip, became a ball. A toad gently, hopefully gently applied, rolled it into the cell, and the door was safely closed on it. Unfortunately for us and the echidna, there is no follow-up to this story as to how the echidna fared at its new home at Taronga Zoo. As for clever animals, the rats of Hyde Park Barracks were of the most unwelcome kind. Rats infested the building, making life unbearable for the convicts housed there, as an evocative account of convict Joseph Lingard reveals. In the night, rats came by the hundreds. They even came into the bed, crept in at our breasts, under the bedclothes, and out at the feet, like a pack of hounds, and biting at our noses and ears all through the night. The rats took up residence under the floorboards of the Hyde Park Barracks, where they built nests from all sorts of material they scavenged from their human companions. And we can see this in the nest here, bits of rope, fabric, paper, all manner of things. Discovered by archaeologists in over a century later, the contents of these tightly constructed nests were an exciting and unexpected find, a fantastic time capsule of information about the occupants of a building. You can see some of the nests and their contents and the former occupants, the rats, on display at Hyde Park Barracks on a visit. Of course, one person's pest is another person's pet, and this was the case at Susannah Place. Ellen and Dennis Marshall and Ellen's daughter Jenny Whitford, who lived in one of the houses for 28 years, kept 3 pet, you guessed it, rats. In a very ironic twist, I might add, because the rocks was where the bubonic plague caused by fleas on rats occurred, leading to lots of demolitions. And like many people who had pets, they also collected rat and mice ornaments, and these took pride of place in their china cabinet, and now, thanks to a generous donation, form part of the Susannah Place collection, showing its what the house of the Marshall family looked like. So on that note, that brings my introductory talk to some of the animals to an end. And we have a few minutes for questions. But I also have this last photo, which I couldn't think of a great story to tell you, but I love it. It's Girly Anderson again. We saw her at Susanna Place. She was born in the rocks, and this is her brother down here. And here is a glorious pet, what looks like pug, sitting on her lap.